Charisma. Are you born with charisma, or is it something that can be learned? Charisma, according to Olivia Kurt-Cobain, is body language that begins in the mind. Hi guys, and welcome to today's episode where we are going to be having a look at busting the myth of charisma, answering that question, is charisma something that you're born with, or is it something that can be learned? Now, welcome firstly to day one of your charisma challenge. I know that our intention is to always have fun, to learn a little bit more about ourselves, and just to, become more connected with who we authentically are. So I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the challenge and to say thank you so much for joining us. Right. Before we begin, the question is over to you in the comments below. Is charisma something that we are born with, or is it something that can be learned? Give you a couple of seconds to do that. Okay. So, two schools of thought. The first school of thought is that charisma is something that we are, of course, are born with, or it is something that we learn. Now, before we go into that, research, it's a complex topic because research shows actually that charisma is a result of learned behavior. So these are the scientists that think that, okay, charisma is something that we actually can learn. It is a skill that we can learn. Now, it's either a skill that we learn through practicing different types of techniques, or it's a skill that we unconsciously learn. And this is what I find quite interesting about charisma, is that, one of the things that I believe is that charisma can either be innate, which we'll talk about in a moment, or is external, which is a result of conditioned behaviors that come as a defense mechanism. Now, those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that I believe that all of the... you've got to be careful with the words that you use. I believe that our personality, so let's say charisma in this instant, charisma is something that we take on as a result of experiences that we have in our life where we feel that we are safe or unsafe. So let's say, for example, something traumatic happens to you. You're being who you authentically are when you're a young child, and you're either told, maybe you're told, don't be that loud, or be more quiet, or, oh, well done, that's really well done for being this way. You're reinforced, that behavior is reinforced, so you're going to be more of it. So let's say, for example, growing up, there was a charismatic behavior, like you were very outgoing. So you would go up to people and you would be very friendly and give them hugs, and your parents encouraged that. They're like, oh, aren't you friendly? Or people around you would be like, oh, she's so friendly, he's so friendly. That would be taken on by your unconscious mind as, oh, I am okay. This type of behavior is okay. I can be more of it. Okay, so maybe you were born with that friendliness, that innate behavior, let's call it that way, innate expression of warmth, and it was encouraged. So in that way, we could argue maybe that charisma is something that you're born with, but it is reinforced through society. On the other side, maybe you're friendly and you go up to people and you give them hugs, but your parents maybe, they were a bit more cautious, they're a bit more worried about, going up to strangers, or maybe it's not part of your culture to be quite outgoing and, just be friendly to everybody. Your parents might have said to you, or society might have, frowned upon that type of behavior. You took that on and you're like, oh, who I am is not okay. I need to be somebody different. So you take on that experience of shyness. I need to be more shy. I need to be more reserved. So you might have been born, I believe, and we'll come to this, but we're all born with that. that spark, that essence within us. And that is our unique charisma, that unique gift, that unique expression of who we are. But society, because of the fact that we're a spiritual being having a human experience, we're born into the society, and it's either encouraged or it is not encouraged. So let's say, for example, that some people are born the behavior is learnt. I'm choosing my words carefully because it's quite complex, isn't it? Which is why it's quite fun to delve into. It's just, this challenge is all a thought experiment. We're sort of, researching things and getting down to the bottom of it. So let's say, for example, in that argument, charisma is something that is a result of learnt behavior. Either you have charisma or you don't, because it is learned from society, either reinforcing your behavior or, I don't know what the opposite of reinforcing is, or negatively sort of reinforcing that behavior, we would say in psychology. Now, if you're talking about that, one of the greatest inhibitors of us being charismatic is belief in self, is self-doubt. That is the biggest inhibitor, self-doubt and self-confidence. And that is manifested as imposter syndrome. Now, that stops us from being charismatic, which we'll look at in episodes to come in this challenge. 70% of the population, research shows, has imposter syndrome, and that's that belief that we are not enough. You are not enough. It's quite deep. It actually even goes to shame that who I am. I'm ashamed of who I am. Now, if we believe in what we've just said, that charisma is something that we've learned. Let's say it was negatively reinforced. You will take on, unconsciously, that's what we do, because it's all unconscious between 0 and 7. You don't process things logically. It's all experienced as a sensory sensation, like, oh, this is safe, this is not safe. That's what's going on in your mind. It's okay to be me, it's not okay to be me. So imposter syndrome, I really believe at the root of it, and we'll look at this in episodes to come. And the root of it is something happened that told you that expression of yourself is not okay. So you stopped it and you blocked it. Okay? And now what we're doing is we're looking at how do we unblock that. We'll look at that. Okay? But just so that we know that that's where we're going, what stops us from being innately charismatic or being charismatic is that we feel, if I am charismatic, that will not be okay. And just out of curiosity, what is it that is inhibiting you from being charismatic? What are those imposter thoughts? What do you feel? In the comments below, what are those thoughts that you have? Maybe you're thinking, oh, I remember this being said to me. What do you remember about those early? I'm not sure if anything is coming up for you just yet about those inhibitors, but I'm curious to see in the comments below if you wanted to jot it down. Okay. So there are many different charisma styles. You just need to find the one that is uniquely you. Now, if you go onto the internet, you'll find that there is a wealth of knowledge on the different types of charisma, different ways of becoming more charismatic. I believe that you are born with your unique essence, and the expression of that unique essence is your charisma. Dr. Christian Duper-Ruzel talks about how charisma is the fragrance of your soul, the smell of your soul. Isn't that so beautiful? And that's what I'd like us to talk about now. What is the fragrance of your soul? Now, the problem with defining charisma, because often people want to know, okay, what are the different types of styles of charisma? Am I charismatic? What we're doing is we're defining the word charisma. And to define the word charisma is to begin labeling it. And the moment you label something, you are saying that if it doesn't fit into that box, it is not right. So the question is, how have you been defining the word charisma? If I were to ask you to put in the comments below, what is charisma? What is that label that you've attached to charisma? What would come up for you? Is it somebody who walks into the room and captures the room? Is it somebody who's confident? Is it someone who's clear? In the comments, what label do you have? What is the meaning that you have attached to charisma? Jot that down into the comments below. Now you can begin to see, or you can begin to feel that the moment you label, you are basing a word on somebody's perception. Now perception, as you know, comes from the mind, comes from the ego, which is somebody's illusion, somebody's truth, which is often different from somebody else. So when we're comparing the charisma of others to the charisma within ourselves, we're stepping into that space of, will I ever be as charismatic as somebody else? Maybe not, because now we're looking at perceptions, aren't we? So that's the first problem with identifying or labeling or creating like characteristics of charisma, is because it's going to be different. And for me, you're born with that essence, which is uniquely you. Now, often what people will do with charisma is they will watch somebody and they'll think, oh, that person is so charismatic. Now, is that something that they're putting on? Because there's a difference between someone being charming and someone being charismatic. Who are they behind closed doors? Does that golden thread, is it this? So are you the same person when you're on stage, when you're with different people? Now you might be different vibrations of that essence, but is the golden thread the same? Because if charisma is a defense mechanism that you've created based on feeling unsafe, that is not that is not your truth. That is a defense mechanism, and that's often what people are. So the question is, what are you observing when you're seeing people who are charismatic? Is that a defense mechanism? Is it bravado? Is it something that they're putting on? Or is it something that is uniquely them? Does it reflect their true character? If charisma is your spiritual gift, or if charisma is an expression of the divine within you, the divine force, surely then we can only be charismatic if we are in alignment with spirit, if we are living in alignment with our calling. If you are connected to that essence, then people will be uniquely and naturally drawn to you. Because that's what a lot of people say, is people who are charismatic, people are drawn to them. People trust them. And we're living in a world now where we can feel the energy of people, and we know if they're faking it or if they're not. So if people are naturally being drawn to you, if they're naturally being drawn to your presence, your power, and your warmth, it's because you are in alignment with who you authentically are, with your essence. So yes, I believe you are born with a unique charisma. But I also believe that it's something that we can learn, because we're a spiritual being having a human experience. And part of that human experience is understanding where our personality and our characteristics have been have been learned, have been reinforced, have been conditioned, but bringing that back into alignment with our unique spiritual gifts. So there are 3 different types of charisma, characteristics of charisma, I believe. Let's say, for example, just for semantics, we're going to call them presence, we're going to call them power, and we're going to give them warmth. We're going to call them warmth. So let's look practically then at what one would look like. What are the nonverbal characteristics that would come from those 3 characteristics? What are those cues? Now, someone with presence. What does that look like? In the comments below. If somebody has presence, what are they exuding? If somebody is truly present, they are present to themselves. And if you are present to yourself, then there is a stillness, there is a calmness. You can look, so a tip is, look deeply into people's eyes. Make deep, warm eye contact. That shows that you have a presence about yourself. You are present. And you also notice that my cadence and the speed in which I was talking changed as well. It's slower because I'm becoming more present to myself. When you're present, you naturally are going to be more confident. So number 1, present. Number 2, power. That's where the confidence comes from, the inner confidence. We'll talk a little bit more about inner and quiet confidence in episodes to come. So how do you stand? How do you broadcast yourself? You're broadcasting yourself with power and confidence, and your gestures are more purposeful. You know, you're not just like flapping around because you're not feeling confident. You're purposeful. Your gestures are more purposeful. So that's a second tip. Purposeful gestures. Tip number 1, slow down, deep eye contact. Number 2, purposeful gestures. Number 3, warmth. Your cadence. Smile. When you smile, automatically what happens is the voice changes, the speed changes, the resonance of your voice. So smiling automatically changes the way that you come across. So the last thing I'd like to talk to you about today is, you can see that all of this has been about connecting you with your authenticity, connecting you with who you authentically are, your true nature. And when you are connected with who you authentically are, when you are being authentically you, you are naturally going to exude charisma. People are going to want to connect with you, and it's going to be true connections with yourself, or true connections with others that comes from true connection with yourself. So embrace yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your journey. That's why you're here over the next few days, is to begin to learn how you can trust you, how you can connect with you. So what do you think? Is charisma something you're born with? Or is it something that we can learn? Or is it both? Share in the comments below. What tips and tricks am I leaving you with today, and what exercises? Couple of tips and tricks. Tips and tricks. Number 1. There is no hard and fast rule. There is no one size fits all. So it's going to be about you experiencing what works for you and what doesn't. So in every situation, my invitation is for you to think, how can I be my true essence right now? What would shift if I was being my true essence? what is my true essence in terms of presence? What does that true essence look like for me? What about warmth? What about power? If it comes from the true essence versus a defense mechanism, begin inquiring into, okay, what are my characteristics? What comes out when I am feeling not enough? Now, we'll look at this in episodes to come, but we all know what it feels like when we're anxious. When we're anxious, when we're fearful, our defense mechanism of power and presence and warmth is going to be very different. What does that look like? Versus when you're in alignment. So we're curious mindset. In every situation, what would shift? Beginning to see when am I in my defense mechanism and when am I in alignment? How can I be present? How can I be warm? How can I be powerful? From a space of curiosity, begin to start thinking and being aware of that. Awareness is our power. That's your tip, and that is my trick for you today. The exercise. Next time, I'd like to invite you to walk into a room and just to notice, what are people doing? Are they doing charisma or are they being charisma? Are people authentically them? And begin to notice, are people in alignment? Number 2, I'm going to share a guided meditation with you. A guided meditation on how you can begin to connect more with your true charisma. The invitation is to do that guided meditation every day, or even just before you have a presentation, so that you can align yourself, so that you can be that power, that presence, and that warmth coming from your unique charisma, your unique essence. A powerful exercise that I give my clients. In the beginning of each day, wake up thinking, how can I be my unique charisma today? How can I show up as that? And at the end of the day, what went well? What are you grateful for? Where did you show up as your unique charisma? I hope that you learned at least one thing about how to be more charismatically you from this video. I'm going to also share in the comments and in the description a link for you to download your Ultimate Charisma Guide, where you'll have all these videos, you'll have all these meditations in one place. But please do feel free to comment below with any questions or anything else that you want to find out more about, because this Charisma Challenge is designed for you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I look forward to seeing you in our next video, and remember, always be charismatically you. We'll see you soon. Bye guys.